And Nigeria's central bank has asked citizens to avoid dealing with speculators in the foreign exchange market to save the naira from further decline. The advice comes as after some operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission raided the Wuse Zone 4 in Abuja over allegations that some Bureau de Change operators are mopping up foreign currencies. The Apex Bank says the invasion was a covert operation to dislodge currency speculators. In the last few weeks, the naira has experienced a further devaluation, dropping from about 580 naira to 707 naira per dollar at the parallel market on the foreign exchange market. The CBN has said it will continue to make deliberate efforts in the forex sector to avoid further downward slides in the value of the naira.
And to help us make sense of these issues and the implication on the Nigerian economy, let's now bring in Ogbonna Ukuku. He is an investment and economic development expert. Thank you so much, Ogbonna, for being here. And of course, when you start by looking at what IATA said back in June, they said $450 million is stock here. And some would say since then, it's actually have grown to about 500 million just from airline operators. And we do know that aviation is key to Nigeria's economic growth. What are the implications of such an announcement from Emirates, which some say this is the beginning of more woes to come?
Now, one of the things that actually help us in attracting investment is, we have a policy on 100% repatriation of our profits to any foreign investor. Now, when a company like Emirates, begins to face challenges like this, and then it becomes a global knowledge. Everybody now begins to see. So it will now become a scare to a lot of investors because it sends a wrong signal to foreign investors who want to come and do business in Nigeria. So I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's something we need to work on and see how we can come out of this quagmire.
Well, we know that basically Nigeria's economy is oil driven, just about 15% of non-oil exports, accounts for the other earnings that Nigeria receives. But most unfortunately, the manufacturing sector too is overheated with the lack of forex and the rest. They prefer to import finished goods than exporting or producing or manufacturing here. What's the implication?
I think it's even beyond people wanting to import finished goods. Our production, the matrix of our production is almost 70 or 80% dependent on importation. What that simply means is that we bring in a lot of raw materials from other countries. Look at the pharmaceutical industry, for example. The APIs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, still come from abroad. They still come from India, they still come from China, they still come from other parts of the world. As simple as small as Tom, that is the candy that we make, that we say is made in Nigeria, is actually assembled in Nigeria. It's made up of 3 components. One is glucose syrup, 2 coloration, and then the third one is the flavoring. These 3 things they all come from China, India, and Brazil. So
must we lick Tom?
No, what I'm just saying is, so it speaks to the fact that
it's a terrible way to live, honestly, because from time immemorial, we've had conversations about the fact that we need to diversify the economy. We need to become a producing economy, so that way we're not heavily dependent on other currencies that would actually hamper our growth. But at the end of the day, this is quite troubling in terms of forex. And this is not, like Christian said, it's not just the aviation sector that is suffering today. Almost every sector is suffering. So what is the way out of the impasse? Because as it stands now, CBN says we don't have the forex, but we cannot sit back and let everything crumble.
So there has to be some critical decisions that we have to take as a nation. I always say that we're a third world country with a first world appetite. So some of the decisions we'll take is to make sure that we look at strategically things that we must expend FX on. Do you know that FX on education, the monies we spend on education abroad, rose from $500 million. That's from National Bureau of Statistics. It rose from $500 million in 2015 to $2 billion as of 2021. So these are things that put pressure on the dollar, because nobody wants to go to school here anymore. If people that can afford it, they would rather go abroad to school, because the standard of education there, the acceptability of their certificate, these are things that are putting pressure. And don't forget, 60% of our consumer goods are almost as 60% of our consumer goods are around the dollar, around the dollar,
dollarized.
the dollarized. So, I mean, if we must, like I said, we must take very drastic decisions. Check the things that we're going to be spending this US
Tell us
dollar.
some of these decisions, because one decision a lot of Nigerians find funny, and you investment and economic analyst, is running the black market side by side with the CBN. Why is the CBN funding the black market?
No, I don't see any problem with the Central Bank of Nigeria funding the Bureau de Change. I don't see any problem with that, contrarily. But what I see troubling is when it now becomes so much of an issue where you now start chasing them around. One, they say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And nobody has ever asked what are the implements that they use in the devil's workshop. It's idle funds. What CBN should be chasing is idle funds, because you can't speculate, you can't hoard if you don't have idle funds. So if you have investable funds that are put into useful transactions, you won't have that money available to go and start buying dollars to hoard. So that's where speculation comes in from. So what they should do is to begin to check the banks that they have oversight. They have oversight, they oversee the banks. So they have to check, what are the withdrawals? Where are those monies going to? You need to find out what these huge withdrawals are going into. Why would money sit in a bank? Why wouldn't that money be productive? Why wouldn't that money be used in certain industries? So these are the things I think we have to strategically look at, and then begin to curb our appetite. Begin to look at things that I don't think we have any business in. See, any car that is produced in the world, story has it, history has it. Any car that is manufactured in the world today, give it 1 week, you'll find it in Nigeria. How? Because these are the things we're talking about. We can't continue to overrate ourselves.
We're being luxurious.
Well, luxury living is a choice, and if a person can afford it, they should be able to afford it. But yes, we know it's detrimental to the economy, but how can we find a balance? Really, at the end of the day, we're seeing countries even like the United States talk about increasing the tax on luxury goods, and we've seen that happen where they're using it to fund other sectors that are suffering. So can Nigeria borrow such? Do you think that can work here? Well, okay, like the cars that you talk about being produced that the next week is here in Nigeria, what can we do in that aspect to make sure we get more from those who are wealthy and make sure the basic needs are taken care of for the poor?
This is how you run economies all over the world. It's even so disheartening that we are still funding our budget from rent and proceeds from oil. Nobody does that. What you do is you fund your budget through taxation. We still have a tax to GDP of 6%, 10%. That's quite low. We need to, expand our tax net. We need to become a bit more productive. Well, I keep saying this, becoming productive, because we're still talking about doing basic infrastructure in Nigeria. So how can you now become productive? Because these are the cardinal things that help you in industrializing your country. There has to be free flow of logistics, transportation in your country for you to be able to produce. There has to be a financial engineering that will work. We have to create products that will also, look at the issues that we have as regards how do we fund SMEs. You need to be able to have technology transfer. There are a whole lot of gamut of things that you must sit down and have a developmental plan that would include sub-national governments, because it's as if sometimes we stay in Abuja, design programs, and then those are the states they're just looking at, please send us our allocation. That's just what we want. Really. There has to be a plan that will, there will be a confluence of plans that will, involve the federal, the state, and then the local government. So those are ways that you actually grow economies.
Right. Ordinarily, one would have said that's a platonic republic that Ogbonna is painting, but it's the reality.
It's
not rocket science.
Especially expanding the tax on luxury products, really. I know the government was looking in that direction some time ago, but I don't know how far that have. We'll have to say thank you so much, Ogbonna Ukuku, for joining us tonight on the program. And of course, we hope that we're able to get it right. 710 naira as it stands right now to the dollar.
I'm sure by morning it would have gone up again. Also.
Maybe it will crash, maybe there's some changes that might happen. I'm optimistic.
Let's see if the development plans are really working there.